Hi, today I will be explaining how to do the calculator overflow problems that you will find on TMSCA calculator tests. These appear very commonly, being on about 50% of all the calculator tests, so it's a very useful concept for anyone doing that test to know. I'll be showing you how to do this on a TI 84 Plus, but this should work on any calculator, with just a few slightly different steps. In this video, I will just be showing you how to do it, and I won't be explaining why this is what we do. If you would like to know why, then comment down below and maybe I'll make a separate video about that. But let's get started. So here are the settings on the calculator we will be using. We will be using normal and not scientific notation because it will be easier for us to see the numbers. And the problem's answer will eventually become scientific notation anyway. Let's set our float to 2 because that's how every other problem is on calculator tests. And it will be easier to understand the numbers again. And the radian or degree doesn't really matter since we're not dealing with angles, but I'm just going to leave it on degree. So what is a calculator overflow problem? On the left here, I have 3 examples of them. Looking at them, you might think, well, why can't we just type them into the calculator? Well, let's try that. 637 to the power of 912. When we click enter, it says error overflow. So that's what we're going to be talking about, how to avoid that and how to get an accurate answer. Now the first thing we're going to do is rewrite this in a different format. That format is going to be log of the first number, which is 637, times the second number, which is 912. If we go over to our calculator, we can see that our calculator will take this in. We can type in log of 637 times 912, and we get an actual answer and not an error message. So when we write our final answer, it's going to be in the form of blank times 10 to the power of something, right? That's how anything in scientific notation is. Now the whole number of the answer that we got, which is 2,557, is going to be the exponent that we're raising the 10 to in the scientific notation form. So the final answer is going to be something times 10 to the power of 2,557. And that's the first step complete. Our next step is to turn this 2,557.38 into a number between 0 and 1. So what we're going to do is we're going to subtract this whole number that we just put for the exponent from this. So we're going to do this minus 2,557. And now we have 0.38, which is between 0 and 1, like we wanted. Now the last step we're going to do is to do 10 to the power of this decimal, which is 0.38. The way we can do that is we can hit second log, which is 10 to the power of x, and we have this 10 to the power of this blank exponent thing. So for this, we can just type second negative, which is answer. So we have this 10 to the power of answer, and we just click enter. And we have 2.37. So we just need to write that into this blank here, 2.37. And right here, we have our final answer in scientific notation, 2.37 times 10 to the power of 2,557. That's all you have to do to solve a problem like this. Now for this next problem, the only difference is that the exponent is negative. So our problem is 927 to the power of negative 821. So again, we're going to rewrite this in the form of log. So log of 927 times negative 821. Now we can just go over to our calculator and type this in. Log of 927 times negative 821. And when we click enter, we have a negative answer. So again, we're going to put it here. And the final answer, it's going to be blank times 10 to the power of something. And the 10 to the power of something is going to be the whole number part of it. So negative 2,435. Now for the next step, we again have to get this to a number between 0 and 1. So this time, instead of subtracting, we're going to be adding. And instead of adding 2,435, we have to add 2,436. So it would be a positive number. So now we are going to add 2,436. And now we have 0.03, which is between 0 and 1. Now for the last step again, we're going to hit second log, which is 10 to the power of x. And then we're going to hit second negative, which is answer. And then we just need to click enter, and we have 1.07. So we can just write that in right here. And that's our final answer. 1.07 times 10 to the power of negative 2,435. Okay, so our last problem is negative 291 to the power of 544. Keep in mind that the negative is not in parentheses. So that means that we do 291 to the power of 544 and then add a negative at the end. But let's just pretend that there were parentheses around the whole thing. Now, what we're doing is the whole thing to the power of 544. So if we try typing this into our calculator, log of negative 291 times 544, we get this error non-real answer. This is just like when you're trying to take the square root of a negative number. It just doesn't work because you can't take a square root of a negative number. So we have to find another way to do this. Now we're gonna have to think kind of logically here. So let's take negative 2 as an example to just think about, since it's a really small number that we can easily work with. So if we take negative 2 to the power of 1, then we get negative 2. If we take negative 2 to the power of 2, we get positive 4. And when we take it to the power of 3, we get negative 8. Do you see a pattern here? Whenever the exponent is odd, the answer is negative. But whenever the exponent is even, then the answer is positive. So that's exactly what we're going to do here. Because 544 is an even number, our answer is going to be positive. So we can just do this whole problem as 291 to the power of 544 and leave it positive. But for example, if it was to the power of 543, then the answer would be negative. So we'd have to do 291 to the power of 543, find the answer, and add a negative in front of the answer. But let's work with it as it is, as 544. So at first, we just need to do the same thing as the first problem. So we're just going to type in log of positive 291 times 544. And with this, we get 1,340.36. Now, again, we're going to write this as blank times 10 to the power of the whole number, which is 1,340. Now, we're going to subtract 1,340 to get it between 0 and 1. And we have 0.36. Now, we type second log and then second negative. So we have 10 to the power of answer. Click enter and we have 2.28. So our final answer is 2.28 times 10 to the power of 1,340. Suppose it was to the power of 543, like we mentioned earlier, we'd have to put a negative in front of it. But because it is an even exponent, it is positive. And with that, that's it for this video. If you have any questions or you'd like to understand why this is what we do, comment down below and I'll make a separate video on that. But that's it for this video. Bye!